The sun was setting over the hills of Okofia, a once quiet village that had slowly transformed into a budding town. Roads that used to be dusty paths were now tarred, and small shops had sprung up along the main street. Among the villagers, whispers spread quickly that a young man had arrived in town. His name was Johnson. No one knew where he came from exactly, but he carried himself with confidence. He wasn't loud or boastful, but from the way he dressed, the kind of car he drove, and the money he spent, it was clear he was a wealthy man. Johnson's plan was simple. He wanted to invest in the community, build a company that would employ hundreds, and bring more opportunities to Okofia. He thought it was wise to work with locals, people who understood the land and the customs. He met 4 friends, Uchenna, Chike, Ibuka, and Ifani. They had grown up in Okofia together and were well known in the community. Johnson explained his vision to them, and they were thrilled. He promised to pay them handsomely if they helped him buy land, oversee construction, and guide him through the village system. The 4 friends smiled and shook hands with Johnson, praising his vision and promising loyalty. To Johnson, it felt like fate. He believed he had found brothers to work with. He trusted them completely and began handing over responsibilities. What Johnson didn't know was that while he was dreaming of factories and jobs, greed was already burning in the hearts of 3 of the friends. That night, the 4 friends gathered at Uchenna's compound. At first, they spoke of how lucky they were to meet a man like Johnson. They imagined the money they would earn and the pride of saying they played a role in building a company in Okofia. But slowly, the tone of the conversation shifted. Chike leaned closer to the others and lowered his voice. "Do you see how much money this man has?" he asked. "Do you know how many years it will take us to see half of what he carries in his bag?" Ibuka laughed nervously. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Chike continued, "instead of working for him, why don't we take what he has now? One move, and we'll all be rich forever." The room fell silent. Uchenna's eyes widened, but he didn't dismiss the thought. Ibuka quickly nodded, tempted by the vision of sudden wealth. Only Ifani shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He had seen where greed could lead, and something about the idea unsettled him. "What if we kill him?" Chike whispered. "Nobody will know. We can share everything he owns, and the money will change our lives." For a long moment, the air grew heavy. Finally, Uchenna and Ibuka agreed. But Ifani shook his head slowly, his heart pounding. He could not believe his friends were serious. That night, the seed of greed was planted, and Johnson's life unknowingly balanced on its edge. The following day, Ifani walked with Johnson to the land they were considering for purchase. Johnson talked cheerfully about how he planned to hire many villagers, especially the youth, so they would no longer leave for the city in search of jobs. As Johnson spoke, Ifani's chest tightened. The man was sincere, full of hope, and clearly had no idea of the danger around him. Later that evening, Ifani called his 3 friends back to the same compound. His face was serious as he looked at them. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "This plan to kill Johnson must stop. Think of what you're saying. This man wants to help us. He wants to bring development, give jobs, and put Okofia on the map. Why destroy such a blessing?" Chike sneered. "Ifani, don't be a child. Do you know how much he has in his bag? Do you know what that could mean for us?" "It means curses," Ifani shot back. "It means evil. It means destroying the future of our village. We will not just be killing a man, we will be killing opportunities for our people. I am out of this madness. Do what you want, but count me out." For a moment, silence hung between them. Uchenna and Ibuka exchanged uneasy glances. Chike, however, was not moved. He pointed a finger at Ifani and hissed, "If you ever breathe a word of this to anyone, we will kill you too." Ifani stood up, his mind heavy. He prayed silently that his friends would change their minds. But in his heart, he knew greed had already consumed them. The 3 men met in secret the following night. They finalized their wicked plan. Johnson had asked them to accompany him to view another piece of land on the outskirts of the village. It was the perfect place to strike. As Johnson walked ahead of them the next day, pointing out how the land could be used for housing his workers, Chike raised a heavy stick. Without warning, he struck Johnson from behind. The young man collapsed, shocked and gasping for air. Uchenna and Ibuka joined in, finishing what they had started. When it was over, the three men stood over Johnson's lifeless body. His bag, filled with documents and money, lay nearby. For a moment, guilt flashed across Uchenna's face. But Chike's voice was quick to silence him. "It's done," he said coldly. "Now let's take what is ours." They buried Johnson's body in a shallow grave, covering it with dry leaves and soil. They swore never to speak of it again. Later, they divided the money and valuables among themselves, but in the shadows of the trees, unseen by them, the wind carried a whisper of vengeance. Ifani knew something terrible had happened. When Johnson did not return, and when his friends appeared with nervous eyes and heavy pockets, the truth was clear. He confronted them quietly, but Chike pulled him aside with a deadly glare. "Say one word, Ifani, just one word about what we did, and you will join him in the grave. We are not joking. Remember, you are our friend, but we will not spare you." Fear gripped Ifani. He wanted to tell the elders, to tell the police, but the threat hung over his head like a knife. He decided to keep silent, but his silence ate at his soul. Nights were restless, and he dreamed of Johnson's face staring at him from the darkness. Meanwhile, Chike, Uchenna, and Ibuka grew bolder. They spent the money carelessly, building houses, buying new clothes, and living as though they had struck gold. People in the village whispered, wondering where they suddenly got so much wealth, but beneath their laughter, something strange was already stirring. It began with Chike. One morning, he woke with a strange rash on his skin. At first, he ignored it, but within days, his body began to swell. His eyes turned yellow, and no medicine could cure him. The village healers tried, but his condition worsened. "Maybe it is a curse," one elder whispered. "Such sickness is not ordinary." Soon after, Uchenna developed the same symptoms. His skin cracked, his body grew weak, and he screamed in pain through the nights. People avoided him, fearing the strange disease. Ibuka was next. His illness came faster, fiercer, and more terrifying than the others. The three of them wasted away before the eyes of the villagers, who began to murmur that the gods were angry. Ifani watched in silence, his heart heavy with fear. He knew it was not just a sickness, it was justice. The curse of an innocent man was falling upon his friends. As the three men grew weaker, rumors filled the village. People began to ask questions about Johnson's disappearance. They remembered how he came with plans and dreams, and suddenly he was gone. Whispers turned into suspicion, and suspicion pointed at the three dying men. On his sickbed, Uchenna wept bitterly. "It is true," he admitted to his wife. "We killed him. We killed Johnson. That is why this is happening to us." The confession spread quickly. Elders summoned Ifani, who trembled as he confirmed what happened. He told them how he had refused to take part in the wicked act. The entire village was shaken. The curse was real, and no one could deny it. Chike, Uchenna, and Ibuka all died in torment, their bodies eaten away by the mysterious disease. But the curse did not end with them. Years later, their children began to fall sick at the same age Johnson was when he died. No doctor, no healer, no prayer could save them. The village watched in horror as generation after generation of their descendants fell to the same fate. The curse had taken root, and it would not stop. Some families left Okofia, running from the shadow of the past. But the curse followed them wherever they went. Elders of the village gathered the young ones and told them the story of Johnson. They made it clear, greed brings destruction, and innocent blood cries out for justice. Ifani lived a long life, though scarred by the memory of his friends. He became a voice of wisdom, warning others never to follow the path of greed. He built his own small business with honesty, and though he was not rich, he found peace. The name Johnson became sacred in Okofia. Whenever someone spoke of betrayal or greed, they would say, "Remember Johnson." Years turned into decades, but the curse remained. The descendants of Chike, Uchenna, and Ibuka lived under its shadow, and no one dared to challenge the justice that had fallen on their families. The village never forgot. They built a small memorial at the edge of the land where Johnson had planned to build his company. It stood as a reminder of what could have been, a symbol of dreams cut short by greed. Though Johnson's life ended in betrayal, his story became a lesson that lived forever. And so, the curse of greed echoed through the generations, reminding all that evil deeds never go unpunished.